7.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on top U 93.5 in Y and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
And I am Grace Hammoah, Agyemang.
This evening, government absolved itself from blame following renewed hostilities and killings in Bawku in the Upper East region. We'll tell you exactly government's position on this matter.
Also this evening, University Teachers Association of Ghana, Utag, says it will employ other legal means to mount pressure on government as it suspends its strike over galamsey.
We'll give you details of that here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, the Peace Council has bemoaned the insecurity in Bawku, urging security services to be proactive in ensuring the safety of residents and travelers. We'll give you details of that. And we're live in the area as residents take to the streets to protest what has become a protracted conflict situation in Bawku.
Tonight, you can call it a battle for supremacy between the legislative arms of government and the judiciary as Speaker of Parliament challenges Supreme Court's order.
We have the latest in business and in sports as well. And campaign trail here on your election command center. We'll tell you more in the aftermath of the death of the founder and flag bearer of the Ghana Freedom Party, Madam Ekua-Donkor. Also, the former majority leader has been talking about the matters happening in Parliament, and John Mahama has posed what has been described as examination questions for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. We'll tell you about all of that here on Campaign Trail on your election command center. But first, Safa Boaheng is here with a summary of the news.
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment. And now to the details. The late Ekua-Donkor, founder of the Ghana Freedom Party, GFP, was reportedly diagnosed with respiratory issues at Nsawam Hospital prior to her eventual death. This is according to NS friend Paul Manso, also known as Adakabre, who made the revelation while speaking on TV3's early morning show, New Day. Adakabre, who was Ekua-Donkor's running mate in the 2020 election, revealed that she was referred to the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, Reach Hospital, where she unfortunately passed away. Away from that, the University Teachers Association of Ghana, Utag, has called off its strike against the perpetration of illegal mining in the country, otherwise known as galamsey, with immediate effect. The university teachers who laid down their tools in October was in protest to the government's inaction against the ongoing galamsey, which is causing a serious harm to Ghana's environment. The Ghana Education Service, GES, has announced that it has started the 2024 Computerized School Selection and Placement System, CSSPS, for 2024 BEC candidates. The service, in a statement on Monday, October 28, said the selection process is still ongoing as some 94%, representing 521,088 students, have been placed in schools. Now, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagwen, has emphasized that the legislature is a vital institution in governance and must not be taken for granted, as it serves as a mirror of Ghana's democracy. He said this at the commissioning of the Job 600 building in Accra on Tuesday, October 29. And on to our last story, Real Madrid boycotted Monday night's Ballon d'Or ceremony held in the French city of Paris, although the UEFA Champions League holders were not present at the magnificent ceremony. The Spanish Giants won the Club of the Year award. Monday night reports suggested that the record Champions League winners were upset about France Football Magazine's decision to not choose the forward Vinicius Jr. for the best men's player. And this brings us to the end of our news summary segment. And over to you, Alfred and Grace.
Thank you very much, Safa Boaheng. As more news on 3news.com. Make some time visit 3news.com this evening. The government is absolving itself from blame in the renewed chieftaincy conflict in Bawku, resulting in multiple deaths. Addressing a news conference earlier today, the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Stephen Asamoah Boateng, expressed concern over what he deems to be misrepresentation and politicization of the Bawku conflict by various factions, warning that such actions threaten to further inflame tensions. The minister's concerns come in the wake of accusations leveled against the government that it is complicit in the disturbances.
As to the numbers of deaths, record from our sources puts at 16. That's official. when conflict starts in some areas, it's difficult to sometimes pick it up until later people go in there. But officially 16, but it's one too many. So, and that, indeed, that is the reason why the Security Council was imposed. So we need to arrest the situation very quickly.
92.7.
In terms of how the private chief ended up in Bawku, I'll leave that to security agencies to answer that. It's unfortunate he did. It's something that we have to find answers to, and also to try and deal with it, because his very presence is creating the problems. And indeed, as you read from the statement yesterday, it's causing a lot of unrest and unease and tension. So let's, as I said, leave that to security agencies. But from the role of the key personalities who are helping to resolve, indeed, you recall that the government has requested Otumfuo the Asantehene to take so.
Stephen Asamabati, who is the Minister for Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Meanwhile, a woman in Bawku Township have called on authorities to be quick in their responses to ending the hostilities resulting from the resurgence of the conflict, taking to the streets in the hundreds. The women also accuse government of poorly handling the conflict, leading to the loss of lives and property. They've therefore demanded immediate measures to contain the spread of the violence, including extending the curfew to Wale Wale, where there have been pockets of reprisal killings on the highways.
It's severe, and the government is supporting one side. That is what we know. The government is supporting the Mapuses and leaving the Kusasis. Meanwhile, we are all voting for the all one government. There are Kusasi members who are voting for MPP. So the killing of Bawku is very bad, and the killing in Bindu Wale Wale. It's very bad. As far as they are imposing curfew in Bawku, there should be curfew in what? In Walwale. And his government, give us a break. Give us a break. No peace in Bawku. No peace. Abagre is here with the help of the government. But they are saying it's from the local government who has brought him inside. So we don't know what is happening in Bawku again.
Well, so there you have it now, and Grace, and that's the women. In fact, if you go on our Facebook page right now at 3FM927, we're showing you live videos of these women who are distraught, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're upset, they're disappointed, and calling amidst wailing. In fact, they're wailing now. If we go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, wailing and demanding that something be done, and so we see some car tires being bent as well behind them, causing thick smoke behind them, and that just signifies exactly how frustrated and, as it were, disappointed they are about the situation in Bawku right now. And the demands they're making is that urgent action be taken to ensure that lives and property are saved and protected in the area. Meanwhile, the Upper East Regional Peace Council, they've challenged security services to be proactive in ensuring the safety of all people in Bawku and all of the travelers on the Bolgatanga-Tamale Highway. In a statement, the Peace Council condemned the renewed violence. Let's get on to the telephone lines now. Alhaji Sumaila is the chairman of the Upper East Regional Peace Council. Alhaji, assalamu alaikum to you.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. First of all, we've got a copy of your statement. The specific demand that you're making is that the security services should be proactive in ensuring the safety of the people there. Exactly what are you demanding of them in this particular call?
They know their job and they know why they are there. The Ghana Army, for instance, has been criticised for all the peacekeeping jobs they've done outside this country. The police, the same, when they went to wherever, Bosnia and whatever. So we expect that they should do exactly what they did there in Bawku to bring peace to the place. And as a matter of fact, the issue in Bawku, they said that it has overwhelmed everyone here. Now that it's spreading outside Bawku, this is our worry.
But you are there as the Upper East Regional Peace Council. What's your own assessment of this evolving Bawku conflict over the period?
What is our... I didn't get you.
I was asking what's your own assessment of the evolving conflict, the nature of the conflict in Bawku?
Our assessment
of the nature of the conflict, the nature of this conflict in Bawku.
The nature of this conflict. The nature is what it is. It's been a chieftaincy issue between two tribes, and for all these years, it's been the same. I schooled in Bawku, and when I was there, it was there. In the 1970s, it was there. I went to Bawku School in 1970, and it was there. It was there before I went there. It has always been a case where both sides claim to be chiefs. So I don't know how anybody can now... I mean, both sides have taken entrenched positions. It's ours. And they also say it's ours. So who do you blame? The Mampusis say they were original chiefs, and chieftaincy was their portion. And the Kusasis say it's our town. The land is ours. The chieftaincy should belong to us. We've gotten our independence, and we don't want to go back to the old systems. That's all. Entrenched positions.
I see, but you see, there are those who would also make the point quite strongly that this matter has gone beyond just chieftaincy. It's taking the shape of politics and also criminality as well. Because when the NPP is in power, the Mampusis feel empowered. When the NDC is in power, the Kusasis feel empowered. That is part of the issue, is it not?
Yeah, but that is normal with every area. When the party of their choice is in power, they think they are the masters of the area. So that is what it is. Today they are talking of the Agyemang saying Agyemang. That is it. It's the same.
Well, but I was just pointing it out to you that it is not just chieftaincy that's happening there. To the extent that it's evolved and taking the shape of politics and some criminality as well, it cannot just be limited to chieftaincy dispute.
It is said that the Mampusis are mostly MPP. They are the UP family. And it is said that the Kusasis were the CPP family, now then NDC. It is being said so, like that, and that is what we are seeing on the ground because NDC keeps winning all the constituencies in the Kusok area. So this is what it means. Yes, let's take it as like that because comparatively, in terms of numbers, the Kusasis outnumber the Mampusis.
And before, but before I let you go, maybe finally, because you are there and you understand the people.
Say that again.
I'm saying because you are there and you understand the people. The women are on the streets right now demanding that there's some end to this violence. For the Peace Council, beyond calling on the security agencies to be proactive, what else would you be doing?
We have always asked that they should stay cool. Take it up because if it's beyond mediation, if the matter is beyond mediation, then they should seek the courts. That is our advice to them. Because I remember when my national boss came here and we went to Bawku, the Bawku Nava said yes. They've already been to court. He knows that he's been to court, and the court has given him a seat. Then we went to Nairi, and Nairi said he was ready to go to court. And my national boss, asked him or advised him to go to the court and get judgment. And he said he would go. And if I'm not mistaken, it's nearly 2 years now. So we're waiting on him. But otherwise, this will not solve it. The violence will not solve the problem. It is the same as it has been from day one in the 1950s.
Well, but so, I want to understand if you say the matter is beyond mediation. What do you mean?
We have invited them here severally. Each time the story changes. Each time it changes. So it's like we are not getting a consensus. So the best thing is for them to go to court. If they both agree that we have a case, let's go to court. And they go to court, eventually the court will separate them. Even though that would not be the best decision, they will still go to court. They would have given us time to think of other things.
Anyway, Alhaji, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you too.
Alhaji Sumaila is the chairman of the Upper East Regional Peace Council. He's still on, but let me bring in Emmanuel Kuting, who is a security analyst. He's in fact been studying this Bawku situation for as long as I've known him. Mr. Kuting, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Alfred, thank you for having me, and good evening to your very cherished listeners.
Well, you just heard the chair of the Upper East Regional Peace Council make the point that the situation in Bawku is beyond mediation. Meanwhile, one of the interventions government is talking about now is for 247 the second to lead a mediation process in the area. Would you agree with them?
Well, I can't agree with him at all. There can never be a situation that is beyond mediation. As much as we are human beings and we are always at conflict. Sometimes conflict can be very positive, depending on the lenses you view it from. I think the situation in Bawku is simply politics. If you look at the historical antecedents, and people hide under political colors and do things with impunity. If we are able to stop that impunity and bring law and order, why not? I don't agree that the situation is beyond mediation. You see, Alfred, one of the critical points I will make today is that government knows the solution to the Bawku crisis. It's always playing the ostrich. And that's what successive government have done. So I will put a blame squarely on my brothers. You know, I'm a northern, a proud one at that. We have allowed the politicians to use us as pawns for their own selfish and political gains. To the extent that Bawku is a shadow of itself, and politics will not allow Bawku to be. So to me, government proposal of a mediation team now, even though it's good, but it's belated. I think that the comprehensive way to look at the Bawku situation is to set up a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, like Akrofi did when he became president, to give voices to those who were brutalized and felt that they were manhandled and not treated well under the previous military regime. You recall that a year ago, I sounded this alarm when I did an analysis giving into effect the historical antecedents of the conflict on Metro TV. There was a popular demand for a second part of that program, and we yielded. And the second process, we brought the leaders of the feuding factions. And I quite remember, Avoka spoke for the Mamprecious, and one other doctor from UGS, Avoka spoke for the Kusasis. And there was this other doctor from the UDS who spoke for the Mamprecious. If government have taken over at that momentum and set up this Truth and Reconciliation Committee, telecast this hearing live on TV for everyone to see, give the opportunity to the feuding factions to vent their anger and frustrations. Then a white paper is issued and we call a spade and implement to the letter what the commission white paper will sort of give us to do. How can it be the case that two children are fighting over one thing and there's not a true owner? It can never be the case. And you see, Alfred, what gave rise to the current situation we find ourselves? You recall that this chief that was taken to Bawku was under a warrant from the court. They went to the High Court to overturn that warrant of arrest, but they were not successful. They went to the appeals court, and government legal advisor, and that's the Attorney General, refused to enter appearance, and that was when that arrest warrant was overturned. And when that was done, government sought to play the ostrich, as it has always done over the period, by entering an appearance to appeal against the arrest warrant. So clearly you can see from my narration that if it's not politics, what can it be? Even a year ago, when we called on the government to get a prominent chief that will command respect among the feuding factions, and I proposed Otunfo, like government is doing now, nobody gave a listening ear. If you look at the Dagbon crisis and you juxtapose it with the Bawku crisis, there cannot be any differences in with the two conflicts in context as a peace builder. I just feel that there was just lack of interest. And just a few weeks to elections, these things are happening. Alfred, let's assume that now I think they banned some political activities around the area, and we go into an election. And this is a very contentious election. And certain areas within certain parts of the country don't take part in these elections. Who will take or accept the legitimacy of such results? You understand? So to me, we need to wake up and call a spade. If your mother died, we say in our local dialect that if your mother dies, and say your mother is not dead. When the dead body gets rotted,
we'll definitely get to see it. Indeed.
We'll get to see it.
Right. Mr. Kuting, appreciate your time on this matter and your expertise as always. Thank you so much. Security analyst Emmanuel Kuting there on the Bawku crisis and matters arising. We're keeping an eye on that. I'll definitely be updating you as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7.
Alfred, and we're hopeful that now that the women have also joined, their calls to be heard so that some long-term solution is found at once to bring all the troubles at Bawku to an end. It's been there for so many years.
Absolutely.
I mean, we should just do something about it and find a solution to it.
You couldn't have said it any better than this.
Yes, Alfred. Talking about finding solutions and battles, though, you can call it a battle of two arms of government, or is it not? Well, exactly 10 days after the Supreme Court ordered Speaker of Parliament Alban to stay his hand in executing the declaration of 4 seats of MPs vacant, the Speaker has countered the directive, throwing it back at the Apex Court. Lord Edwasari reports.
The Supreme Court, in an unconventional move on Friday, October 18, ordered a stay of execution of a ruling by Speaker of Parliament to declare seats of 4 members of Parliament vacant after they decided to go independent. The decision threw the House of Legislature into a turmoil as both caucuses of the New Patriotic Party and National Democratic Congress assumed the majority status in Parliament. In order to restore some order and provide clarity, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, shut down the House by adjourning proceedings indefinitely, while contemplating the next steps to take for the House, which has outstanding issues unattended to. Bagbin, through his lawyers, filed an application challenging the decision of the Supreme Court. In his suit, the Speaker, among other things, noted that the Apex Court had no jurisdiction in hearing the interlocutory application by the Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, which led to the Court's October 18, 2024 decision. He's spraying the Court to set aside the processes and proceedings in the Supreme Court and vacates the order of the Court dated October 18, 2024. The case has been scheduled for hearing at the Apex Court on Wednesday. The decision of the court will certainly have a huge impact on parliamentary proceedings.
Lord Edward Harris reports there. The second Deputy Speaker, Joe Osewusu, has been speaking to my colleague, Kamini Amano, on hot issues on the same issue. Take a listen.
It's a reflection of the politics of today, of the things that we place emphasis on, of things that, in my view, should be in the background, of things that do not add any value to our work as MPs. I'm disappointed. I think that those are not the things that should take the front stage when we're discussing Parliament.
And you're disappointed, as in it doesn't matter who is on the majority side and who is not?
It does. It does. But why are we behaving as we're doing when in the past, in the previous 3 parliaments I've been in, such matters are discussed indoors at the leadership level? How is now playing out in the open, with whipping members to be agitated and showing off their machoism? What value does that serve?
What or who could be responsible for that?
I'm not interested in what or who. It is reflecting badly on Parliament. What we should do. As for having controversy, it has always been with Parliament. The reason Parliament is called Parliament because a reflection of the various shades of ideas in the country. And it is expected, it is natural that members of Parliament will often disagree.
Is what we see today a failure on leadership or of leadership?
Well, I do not intend to make any value judgment on leadership, but for me, we are moving away from the values of Parliament, how Parliament had run over the years. We are demonstrating the worst part of us. Even in the past, there have always been significant differences between the minority and the majority. It is this time that we have almost equal members.
But here is private legal practitioner Martin Pebu on this action taken by the Speaker. He spoke on Ghana Tonight.
Yes, that normally the right thing to do in these circumstances would be to go back to the court. To ask the court to set aside the orders. Except right now, the other side to consider is that, is the court willing to eat humble pie? That's a great question to be answered. Is the Supreme Court willing to eat humble pie? Because, Mr. Ocansey, I tell you, applying to the court is one thing. The court admitting that it was an error is a different kettle of fish. So that's that one that nobody can say with certainty. Unless, of course, they themselves see the turmoil they've thrown the country into, they think that, okay, they'll put their egos aside and do the needful. Fine. But often in Ghana, it's not something that's easy to do. You remember how when Akrofi threw out into this economic crater, we called upon him to admit and accept responsibility. You see, it never came. They rather kept blaming Russia and Ukraine. Then everybody got tired after we had all shouted ourselves hoarse. Then one day, in a very lame and banal manner, said he will accept responsibility after the horses had bolted. So that's the key thing. Because, Mr. Ocansey, let me tell you, in the law, using the Constitution and the Supreme Court decisions of Ghana and other countries, there is equal opportunity to eat humble pie as there is to double down or dig in their heels. Yes, as for the law, that's the way it is. Depending on which perspective you are coming from, right, you will get sufficient language and other cases to back you.
Private legal practitioner Martin Pebude. Let's speak to the executive director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman. Doc, thank you for making time to speak to us. When this issue started, we were one of the people we spoke to you, and you told us it was going to end in court, and indeed it has ended in court, and now there's the back and forth. How do you see this span out tomorrow as the Supreme Court intends to hear the case?
Well, I don't know how the Supreme Court is going to decide, but it looks as if, in my very humble opinion, that we are using a wrong tool to address this gridlock that has engulfed our parliament. We are using legal tools to address a political problem. This requires the right tools, and those tools are the tools of negotiation, the tools of deal making. You know, the situation where we have perhaps the three arms of government, the heads of the three arms, together with the leadership of parliament, you know, trying to sit down and just ask the question, what can each party give and what can each party take? Because at the end of the day, in politics, especially in one that is characterized by very deep partisan divisions, and where the numbers are tight, as we do have it currently with our parliament, no one party can get all the things that it wants. So I am just wondering why our leaders are not recognizing this. Because at the end of the day, even if the Supreme Court rules one way or the other, and those who took the matter to the Supreme Court get the backing of the Supreme Court, they will still have to come back and sit down with their colleagues and do business. Is this going to happen? Would the other side cooperate if they are forced by the tool of the law? It's almost like, you know, when you think about alternative dispute resolution, sometimes people will go through the legal mechanisms and realize that that is not leading anywhere. They go and pursue other alternatives, because then the situation is reduced from zero-sum to a win-win. What we are pursuing now is a zero-sum. If you don't have the numbers, we want to get the business of our country to move, and so on. Zero-sum will not cut it. And indeed, the more I think about this, the more I tell myself, maybe they might have to come together, suspend their standing orders, and say, look, let's sit down and do the business of this country. If we have to approve whatever we need to approve so that the country can function, Parliament is the master of its own rules. And they can suspend their standing orders and forget who is majority, who is minority, and deal with the business of our country. You know, I don't know whether that is possible, but that is one option that they might have to look into.
Okay.
And that might be part of the sitting down and making the deal and negotiating and talking.
Doc, so some argue that it is a collision course of the principle of separation of powers and that also of checks and balances. But elsewhere, how does it work? How does it happen?
Well, you know, the whole idea of separation of powers sometimes comes with all kinds of challenges. And that's what we are seeing. And that is why elsewhere, most countries have moved away from this pure kind of presidential system where powers are separate and the tendency for gridlock is sometimes quite high. So they try to create one center of power in a system which looks like the Westminster Parliamentary system, so that the center of power is Parliament, where there is a center of responsibility. If anything goes wrong, everybody knows where the fingers will point.
Yeah.
And if it gets to a point where it doesn't work, Parliament is dissolved and elections take place. But here we are. I believe if you ask MPP right now, they will blame NDC. You ask NDC, they will blame MPP. You ask the judiciary to blame Parliament. You ask Parliament to blame the judiciary, and so on and so forth. So, for the longer term, maybe this might be something that we should think about as a country. Because it looks like if we're not careful and future governments are similar to this one, and then we have a very powerful executive, a very powerful judiciary, and a weak parliament, then, you end up with all kinds of challenges. And yesterday on Ghana Tonight, I was reflecting and asking the question, this whole business of separation of powers, who checks the judiciary? Who checks the judiciary? They can declare unconstitutional what the executive parliament does. But, are they always 100% right? And the whole notion that, once the Supreme Court makes a pronouncement, we all have to fall in line. I guess maybe there are a lot of questions that need to be asked. So, I think the whole separation of powers, checks and balances, and so on, we might have to rethink that as a country, based on the lessons from this 8th Parliament.
All right. Doc, thank you for talking to us. Dr. Rashid Rahman is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Just a reminder that the Supreme Court will be hearing the response from the Speaker of Parliament tomorrow, so you want to stay with us and get the update on how this issue is going to pan out. Let's do other stories now. The University Teachers Association of Ghana, Utag, says it will employ other legal means to mount pressure on government to find lasting solutions to dealing with the devastating effect of illegal mining, also called galamsey. Utag embarked on a 2-week strike to pile pressure on government to declare a state of emergency on galamsey, but recently called off due to members' votes. The University of Teachers, as a result, has announced the beginning of the academic year in a press release, saying they can now announce that the 2024-25 academic year will commence on Thursday, October 31, with lectures starting on Monday, November 4, 2024. National President of Utag, Professor Mahmoud Akudugu, says they will continue to engage government through all legal means.
There are different options that are available to us within the confines of the Constitution, including demonstrations, advocacy, court actions if need be, and all the rest of it. So all the range of options available are on the table. We are always committed to doing that because we believe that it's a collective action that will bring about the end to this fight. And so we are ready to engage government, and because of that, we drafted the pact or the fight against galamsey, which will be approaching all the flag bearers of the 2024 presidential elections to commit to continuing the fight when they get the mandate of Ghanaian people come 7th December 2024.
Professor Mahmoud Akudugu, the National President of Utag. Aula Sewa, founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens, joins us for a conversation. Aula, so Utag remained the only straw that the country was holding on to pile pressure on government to take an action on galamsey. Today, they tell us they have also called their strike. Does this give the indication that probably we have also relaxed on putting pressure on government to take action on this? We're working the phone to speak to Alasawa, who is founder of Eco-Conscious Citizens. He's joining us for a conversation on galamsey, on the fact that Utag has also called off their strike and says they will employ other legal means to mount pressure on government. If you just tuned in, this is Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Aula is joining us now. Aula, thank you for joining us again. If you can hear us, I was saying that...
I can hear you loud and clear.
Great. So Utag remained the only straw that the country was holding on to pile pressure on government. And today they tell us they have called off their strike. Does this give the indication that probably we have relaxed as a country on mounting the pressure on government for government to take action against galamsey?
I don't think it's so much having relaxed. As there's been a lot of pressure, a lot of divide and rule, and instead of government looking at the reasons why the strikes were going to be called, doing something about it, in my view, they are resorting to intimidation, to infiltrating the ranks, started with organized labor, and they seem to have managed to do it Utag. Although they both tell us who called off the strike, they mainly suspended the strike. But one might ask, what would make you suspend the strike? Since the strikes were called, things have gone from worse to even worse. There's been no state of emergency. The illegal mining is going on. Licenses are being issued. Our water bodies are being poisoned. So nothing has improved. And in fact, the attack on our award-winning journalist, Alfred, and his team shows how badly things have deteriorated. Nobody has been arrested for the cowardly attack. So why call off any strike? I mean, the whole thing is very disheartening.
What is the way forward then here?
Well, I kept on saying that the people of Ghana need to be angry enough. If we are sitting here, we know we are being poisoned. Today, you must have drunk water. Do you know what was in your water? Because we all know that even when the water is clear, it doesn't mean there's no mercury in it, because mercury is colorless. Ghana water is unable or does not remove mercury and other substances from the water. And so unless you're wealthy enough to ensure that you do the reverse osmosis to ensure that there's no mercury or other things in your water, you don't know what you are drinking. When you're consuming, in fact, the poison has reached the food chain. So when you're consuming your food, you don't know whether it comes from the galamsey area. So we're going to have more and more cases of cancers, kidney disease, and so on and so forth. There's going to be a lot of pressure on our health system. So if the Ghanaians are content to just sit there and be poisoned, then there's not much that can be said. I'm calling on organized labor. I'm calling on Utag to reconsider their position, because since they declared their strike, things have gone from worse to even worse. We need to put pressure on the government and organize labor if they hadn't bailed out. Well, in the ideal situation to do so, that would have encouraged the government to institute a state of emergency so that they could go to the forest reserves, water bodies, and flush out the illegal miners and their equipment. They could have started the process of repealing LI 2462. I'm reliably informed that it was not even laid before Parliament. That was one of the reasons why organized labor was suspending the strike. They were deceived. There was duplicity. It was not even laid before Parliament, according to our information. So Ghanaians need to be angry enough to decide that I'm not going to sit there to be poisoned. What needs to be done? But it's not too late for organized labor and Utag to resume the strike, because things have gone from worse to even worse. When thugs can just attack journalists who are trying to uncover the truth and no action is being taken. You know, we risk national security concerns when armed thugs can just begin to behave as they like, knowing that because they believe they have the sympathies of the administration in power, they can do as they please.
Okay, Aula. Thank you so much for talking to us. Aula Sewa is founder Eco-Conscious Citizens. Well, let's do other stories. The United States of America has decided not to issue visa to politicians or persons who foment trouble and then leave the shores of the country to escape violence. The warning ahead of the December 7 election was issued as a way of safeguarding Ghana's democracy. In a statement by the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, said the policy will take effect in advance of Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections scheduled to take place December 7 this year. It said the visa restriction policy would apply only to specific individuals who undermine democracy and is not directed at the Ghanaian people nor the government of Ghana. The United States' readiness to impose visa restrictions if circumstances warrant is an example of our support for the aspirations of all Ghanaians for a peaceful, transparent and credible electoral process that reflects the will of the people, the statement added. Professor Vladimir Nchidanso is an international relations expert and also the Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College and joins us on the line. Prof, thank you for joining us tonight. First off, let me ask you, is this normal diplomacy process?
Thank you for having me and good evening to your listeners. Well, any country can choose to help any other country or to deter any other country through the diplomatic process. So this is part of the diplomatic tools used to connect with other countries. So I'm not surprised. It's one of those tools that America has often used. So it's one of the tools for the process, yes.
So, Prof, you not agree with the school of thought that says this is probably another way of the U.S. trying to interfere in our sovereignty or in how we conduct our elections? The elections is just some weeks, a week away, and nobody has said this to them.
Well, it's not a question of agreeing or not agreeing, but the point is that in diplomacy, you choose to act as a way of telling your counterpart what you intend doing, what type of relationship you want to have. This is not the first time America is using this tool in their diplomatic efforts. My worry is this, that is it true that this is going to help crystallize or cement our democracy? Is it the time we need this thing in our democracy? And I believe that nurturing our democracy, we need those that assistance have an issue to water our democracy very well, put the props of democracy down. But for 30 years and over since 1992, we have been able to handle our problems of our democratic dispensation up till now without faltering. We haven't relapsed into civil war or anything like that. But what has prompted America to do this at this time? Will it work? Has it worked anywhere? My little research would take me to maybe Nigeria, where they used in last year. Again, in Zimbabwe, the threat and the embargo imposed on Zimbabwe in the name of helping to crystallize democracy has rather exacerbated the situation, and Zimbabwe is now reeling very seriously in economic doldrums. Now, let's take Venezuela. The same threat, the same non-recognition of the results of elections has created serious enmity between Venezuela, Maduro, and the U.S. And the Venezuelan economy has collapsed completely. So I'm very worried about using this tool, so-called, to help democracy, where there is evidence that democracy rather falters where it has been used.
If you look at the timing and even the wording of the release, do you get the notion that it is particularly targeted at the political class or those who have the power to foment trouble, and not maybe an ordinary person who might just be a victim of it?
That is my worry. If you are targeting the politicians, what about the politically minded criminals? Criminals who will do something in the name of their own political parties, who have not been sent by anybody, and who have no inkling of even knowing Accra, let alone wanting to go to America. Is this a tool to be used at this time? So I agree with you. There are several questions to be asked about this tool that is being employed at this time of our election year.
How would you have the U.S. go about this? You earlier mentioned that it is one of the tools that can be deployed in diplomacy. How would you rather have the U.S. go about this?
I would rather they help us in the logistics infrastructure for democracy in our country. We have a lot of deficits. How do we do our campaigns? The money base of our democracy. How free and fair will elections ever be in Ghana if money is the base for our democracy in the country? What about the Electoral Commission? How resourced is that institution that will ensure free and fair elections? How resourced is our police, which is the civil authority for criminals and whatever it is, how are they resourced? I would rather we beefed up our institutions of governance rather than deterrence of few politicians who are greedy.
Prof, what lessons are there in this for Ghanaians? Middle class, low class, high class. Everybody wants to go to America.
Well, it's sad that everybody wants to go to America. Not some of us like this. We are happy with what we have. We are happy with. I've been to America before. I studied there. But the point is this, that it's not because of politics that I would want to go to America. The point is this, that it is a lesson to us in the sense of our inability to brew our democracy in our own pot and always borrowing from the Americans so that they would have the nerve to tell us what to do in our democracy. For me, it's a lesson for us to build our democracy or brew our democracy in our own Ghanaian pot. That's my message. I strongly suspect that for 30 years or more, we have been able to. In 2009 or so, 12, we went to court. We didn't use violence to settle scores. Several times we were at the brink where politicians threatened to bury Ghana under the heap of violence. But yet we handled them. And that's how democracies crystallize themselves. No matter what you do, since democracy is conflictual itself, you have those hiccups. Look at Great America, 6th January. They had this problem, 2021. Even though their democracy is what everybody looks at. Look at what they had. So we need to understand that our democracy will have these hiccups, and we need to learn how to handle them. That's the most important thing. This threat is not going to help us cement our democracy. It's not. I believe it's not. Because American use of this threat is they pick and choose. Take Kenya, Ruto. What did Ruto, what don't we hear Ruto was alleged to have done in the politics of Kenya? Today he's the president of Kenya, and America is saying nothing. They gave him red carpet when he visited America. He had all the praises from the American politicians, and they signed the best of agreements with him. What are we saying?
Yeah.
So this kind of choice and I don't think it's correct.
All right, Prof, thank you for talking to us. We appreciate your time. Professor Vladimir Chidanso, International Relations Expert, and also the Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College.
We are all going to spend Christmas here. Nobody should go away. Essentially, yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, but it's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Also on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're back shortly after this quick break with Campaign Trail, the business news and the sports news as well here on your election command center. Stay with us.
It's 40 days to election 2024. What has been your contemplation recently towards the elections? Let them reflect peace.
The most comprehensive election coverage.
Top-notch presenters and well-versed analysts.
Dedicated reporters and correspondents in every nook and cranny across the country.
All the action, every incident reported. All the big stories covered.
All facts cross-checked. Every figure verified.
Every vote monitored and accounted for.
The numbers tallied, analyzed, and interpreted.
We have invested time and energy in order to bring you a comprehensive elections coverage.
The whole world will be watching us on TV, online, and radio.
Election Command Center. Facts, analysis, results.
Imagine a place where voices matter, where every corner, every street, every community is a platform.
A big bus moving through Accra, carrying conversations, questions, and the pulse of the nation. This is not just another show, it's your voice on the move.
Join us as 3FM Sunrise hits the road, turning ordinary streets into platforms for extraordinary dialogue. Speak freely, listen deeply, and help shape the conversation that drives Ghana forward.
Look out for the bus and tune in exclusively on 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
I wake up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Obiambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
It's 40 days to election 2024. What has been your contemplation recently towards the elections? Let them reflect peace. It's 40 days to election 2024.
Radio Development Show Host of the Year 2016-2017.
And the winner is John Hughes. Check.
Hi, my name is Johnny Hughes, your community rights advocate, and I'm still on the quest to bring smiles into your communities with Community Connect on 3FM 92.7. Join me this and every Friday morning at 9 a.m. right here on 3FM, and together we will solve the problems bothering your communities.
I know your program is a program that always get a result. Myself, I'm a witness to that.
What can we do to help your community today in terms of education, health, sanitation, security, and all the issues in between from your community's perspective? Tune in to Community Connect every Friday morning at 9 a.m. as we get interactive live on radio and on Twitter at 3FM 927 and on Facebook at 3FM 92.7. Community Connect, helping solve your community problems.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up tonight, Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, kicks against calls for the scrapping of betting tax implemented by government. We'll hear from Director of the Institute, Professor Peter Korte. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. The Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, has kicked against the calls for scrapping of betting tax. As part of the government's efforts to expand the tax base and increase domestic revenue, the Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, last year commenced the collection of 10% tax on all winnings from sports betting and lotteries, a move that sparked stiff opposition from a section of the public. But speaking at the launch of the State of the Ghana's Economy 2023 report and review of the 2024 third quarter economic performance, Director of ISE, Professor Peter Korte, said even though he maintains his stance on the scrapping of e-levy, the betting tax is necessary to serve as a correctional tool.
Money is not to overspend within the 2024 election period, and this can be achieved by reviewing the fiscal responsibility law, legislation, debt ceiling. I think the Minister of Finance said they want something they are presenting to Parliament. Unfortunately, we don't have a Parliament. We've gone on a long recess. But hopefully, if they come back and we legislate debt ceiling that will help us not to borrow beyond threshold and go through debt exchange again in the future. Expenditure rationalization is very key in terms of procurement, compensation. So we don't just raise revenue, but we also spend wisely. And one way to do this is to get all MMDAs on the gift-made system. But sometimes they spend something that they haven't even budgeted for. They sign contracts, and by the time you realize, your expenditure is gone beyond the target.
And that was Director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, Professor Peter Kote, kicking against calls for the scrapping of betting tax. Meanwhile, founder and executive chairman of private-owned IT company, KGL, Alex Apaudade, said even though he does not support betting, taxing the sector is counterproductive.
It is wrong because we are trying to promote not putting money under beds in that right. And using digital means to grow our economy. I believe that at one point when we have achieved that, right, we can look at that. But at this moment, and when I give you an example of the lottery space, for example, we worked so hard to bring it to this level, right? And taxing it means that reversing the gains of it. Who is going to pay? You're going to go back to illegal lottery.
But you hear the flip side argument that that's why we have the sin tax. I mean, this is to serve as a disincentive for the youth going into betting.
Yes, I believe that they have to be. Obviously, we don't engage in betting. Lottery tends to be national. There's a distinction between lottery and betting, right? Lottery tends to be national in nature. It's owned by the government. What we say is a voluntary taxation for every economy.
And that was founder and executive chairman of privately owned IT company KGL, Alex Apaudade, who spoke earlier on TV3's Business Focus with host Parkwesi Siasari. Before we go, Deputy Minister of Communication Charles Agyemang has expressed optimism about the anticipated rollout of 5G in Ghana, believing it will significantly boost online businesses and energize e-commerce. Speaking at the launch of Jumia Ghana's ultra-modern warehouse in Tema, he emphasized the economic opportunities presented by the new 5G internet infrastructure. Set to launch by the end of 2024, Ghana's 5G services will provide faster data speeds, lower latency, and increased capacity, paving the way for enhanced digital commerce.
The anticipated introduction of 5G technology in Ghana will serve as a transformative force, accelerating our journey into the digital age. With faster, more reliable internet connectivity, we envisage a future where many more Ghanaian businesses will seamlessly come online, igniting a surge in e-commerce activity that will create boundless opportunities for growth and development. This technological evolution will bring tremendous benefits, bridging the gap between urban centers and rural areas, and making it easier for everyone to access the essential products and services they need.
And that was a speech of Deputy Minister of Communication Charles Agyemang, ending the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Eroku Ampofo is here for the sports. Do stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on 3FM Hot Edition 92.7. My name is Oreku Ampofo. We'll be looking at the latest stories from the world of sports, starting right here from Ghana, where the FIFA, that's the Federation International of Football Association, popularly known as FIFA, are set to hold an important meeting with representatives of the Ghana Football Association and relevant operatives regarding the implementation of video video assistant referee, also known as VAR, technology in Ghana's domestic leagues. The two-day meeting scheduled for October 31 and November 1, 2024 will take place in Accra with the full VAR project team from FIFA in attendance. This initial meeting, labeled the VAR kickoff meeting, is a critical first step in FIFA's implementation assessment approval program, an essential process for any member association aiming to adopt VAR technology. The session, FIFA and JFA representatives will review comprehensive aspects of the VAR project and evaluate all necessary dependencies for its successful execution. Following the meeting, FIFA's approval will mark the official go-ahead for VAR implementation in Ghana's domestic leagues. And so that is the first step for VAR. Potentially, we could be seeing the technology in Ghana football pretty shortly. But let's do some other stories where on Monday night, Rodrigo, the midfielder of Manchester City, became the first Premier League player to win the Ballon d'Or award since Cristiano Ronaldo did it with Manchester United. Now, he did it ahead of Real Madrid's Vinicius, who was initially touted as the favourite. However, there's been an explanation from France Football on how Vinicius ended up not picking the award.
Organizers of the Ballon d'Or award have been explaining why Vinicius Jr. did not win the 68th Ballon d'Or award. The Brazilian was the heavy favorite for what is generally considered the biggest individual prize in world football, but he was beaten to it by Manchester City and Spain midfielder Rodri, triggering a wave of angry reaction from Real Madrid. The editor-in-chief of France Football, Vincent Garcia, the organizers of the award, said, quote, Vinicius surely suffered from the presence of Bellingham and Carvajal in the top five because mathematically that took away some points from him. This also sums up Real Madrid's season, which had between 3 and 4 players, and the journalists shared their decisions between them, which benefited Rodri, end quote, explained Vincent Garcia.
And so that's the explanation on how come Vinicius didn't win, and a lot of Real Madrid fans were incensed with the outcome. But still, on the Ballon d'Or, Manchester City do have a Ballon d'Or winner in their history, and it was Rodri after he won it last night. Now, head coach of the club, Pep Guardiola, says that Rodri winning this award is not just for Manchester City, but it's also huge for Spanish football.
Should win Vinicius, maybe. But there's 100 journalists, It's not a group of people, elite people that decide what they have to do. It's all around the world. It's not just one country, but it's all around the world. Around the world, there are different opinions. That's why football is nice, no? Everyone talking that nice. I think Rodri made an incredible speech, but I think I spoke about personal, the family, and of course Man City, but especially the Spanish football. And I think and I'm completely agree with him. I think Spanish football in the last decade make an incredible thing with different national trainers, with incredible players in the past, with winning the World Cup, the Euros Cup. So, and never were able to, to win this award. And I think represent Rodri perfectly, of course, City, that we are so proud, but as well the Spanish football. Because Spanish football, the influence in the world football in the last 10, 15 years have been massively important, not just winning trophies, the way they play, generations with the manager, generations with the players. And I think, maybe in that time I remember 3 players from the academy from Barcelona, La Masia, we were nominated all 3, to win the Ballon d'Or, and Xavi and Iniesta could not win because he was a monster there. And Messi, nobody could beat him. They're just Cristiano, Cristiano was a monster, and the father of the monster is Messi.
And so that was Pep Guardiola there talking extensively on the Ballon d'Or, with Rodri winning the award ahead of Vinicius, who finished in second place, and then Jude Bellingham, who came third in the award, Carvajal fourth, Haaland fifth. The list goes on and on and on. But there will be Carabao Cup action this midweek, and Chelsea would be facing Newcastle, a side that they beat over the weekend by 2-1. This time time round, they go to Tyneside in the EFL Cup on Wednesday. And head coach of the Blues, Enzo Maresca, has been playing down the praises and then expectations that has been put on the club, especially from people from the outside, given Chelsea's impressive start to the season, which sees them currently sit 5th in the Premier League table with 17 points from 9 games. Now, Maresca goes on to say that in the end, the real target for him was to ensure that this club becomes important and relevant again in the next 4 years.
I already said that the club never mentioned me about top 4. They always, since I met the club the first time, they always mentioned me that the target, the idea was to build something important for the next 4 or 5 years. For sure, we work every day to reach something important, and we're gonna try until the end to do our best.
Well, that was Chelsea boss Enzo Maresca. But news also coming in just a few hours ago is that Sporting CP have issued a statement confirming that Manchester United will pay the €10 million release clause in Ruben Amorim's contract as they bid to appoint him as the replacement for the sacked Erik ten Hag. The Dutchman was relieved of his duties earlier this week, and the club have moved quickly as they attempt to secure a successor. The Red Devils are hoping to finalize the appointment of Amorim ahead of Sunday's Premier League showdown with high-flying Chelsea at Old Trafford. Ruud van Nistelrooy, who's a former player of the club, will take interim charge of their Carabao Cup tie against Leicester City on Wednesday. For more stories, you can follow our social media handles at 3SportsGH. But that's how we wrap up the segment here on Hot Edition on TFM 92.7. My name is Ore Kwampofo, and the program continues right after this.
It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in NY and beyond. Welcome to Campaign Trail here on your Election Command Center. Let's get into it now here on your Election Command Center. Some 39 days to Election Day, December 7. Former President and flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, has posed some 5 questions for the attention of Vice President and NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. The NDC flag bearer wants Dr. Bawumia to answer the questions just as he once demanded answers to 170 questions and claims from then Vice President Pakwesi Misartha. Speaking during his tour of the Northern region, John Mahama said the NPP flag bearer has shifted focus from his economic lectures to pursuing digitalization initiatives, and this shift, according to him, indicates a neglect of pressing economic issues that need addressing. According to John Mahama, Dr. Bawumia was very vocal about economic issues. However, today he can't mention the economy. This is what John Mahama said.
170 questions to my Vice President, Emisata. He should go and answer the 170 questions himself. Indeed, he shouldn't answer 170 questions. He should answer only 3 questions. 3. Why is the exchange rate 17 cedis to the dollar? Question 1. Exam, he should come and write. Ezu, why has Ghana's debt risen from 120 billion to 767 billion in 8 years? Question 2, you should come and answer. Question 3, why is inflation where it is. Why did it rise to 54% under your administration for 8 years? And then let me add 2 more. Question 4. Why did you borrow 42 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana? Why did you borrow 42 billion cedis from the Bank of Ghana? He should come and answer those questions. We don't need 170 questions. 170, if he wants, he can answer them himself. But Ghanaians are asking him 4 questions. He should come and answer those 4 questions and explain to Ghanaians why we are where we are. The last question is, why has he run away from the economy to digitalization? He used to do about economy. Today he can't mention economy. It's not in his vocabulary. Anytime he opens his mouth, digitalization. Come and talk about the economy. That's question 5. 5 questions. Tell him. He should come and answer them.
So that's John Dramani Mahama there. He's a flag bearer of the NDC. Let's go on to the telephone lines now here on your Election Command Center. And Alhaji Haruna Mohammed is Deputy General Secretary of the ruling NPP. Is joining us right now on the telephone. Alhaji, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Ocansey.
So, I mean, you are not Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, so obviously I will not put you in that direct position of answering these 5 questions unless you want to attempt it on his behalf.
Ocansey, John Mahama doesn't stop to amaze people. If you want Dr. Bawumia to respond to him, he should come for the debate. Dr. Bawumia has called him to a debate. If he has questions for Dr. Bawumia, he should come for the debate.
Are you saying it's only at the debate that he will respond to why the exchange rate is 17 cedis to the dollar?
He wants to ask questions. The debate is meant to ask questions. Hasn't it been done always? At the debate forum, they ask questions. You see, in his attempt to even be specific on 3 questions, because of his corrupt nature, he corrupted in even additional questions because he cannot be specific. That is the person we're talking about. This man is asking questions about how they have overborrowed. He went to Zabuzugu, the highest, the longest route ever in terms of contract award in the performance of Akrofi's government is the Tamale Yendi Zabuzugu Tatale route, 167 kilometers of route. That route, we invested money into it. Money that has been gotten from World Bank to construct that. He's asking infrastructure. We use those monies to build infrastructure, which he's using today when he was using helicopter up and down.
So, Haruna, so the debt that has risen from 120 billion to 776 billion in the last 8 years, you use all to construct roads. Over 500 billion cedis increase.
They take loans from Parliament. Every loan document that goes to Parliament goes with a specific activity that is going to be done. Parliament responds to many of these particular loan requests. Parliament approves them. Parliament does the check and balance in terms of the implementation of this particular policy. Ocansey, you know very well that loans that are being borrowed are being specified as to what the loans are going to be used for. And this man, who has been a former president before, closes his eyes and closes his ears and wants to speak to the conscience of the people of Ghana because he has never insulted them that they have short memories. He should come for a debate with Dr. Bawumia, and Dr. Bawumia will school him on these particular indicators that he's mentioning about.
I see. So I want to find out this as well.
He's not even looking at his performance in the north, and he's asking things that that definitely does not have any much impact of him.
But Haruna, we have been speaking to beyond him. We have been speaking to businessmen. Haruna, they want to find out how come the exchange rate is 17 cedis to the dollar. What do you the explanation to that?
John Dramani Mahama wants to be answered. I am asking him. He should come for the debate. we will respond. We have met business people. We have met industry. We have met the trade union. We have met civil society. And Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has explained his policies, what he wants to do when he becomes the president. He has done so to the business community. If this man who is inconsistent in his own inconsistency wants to be answered, he should come for the debate. That is where Dr. Bawumia will answer him. But what surprises me most is that he's coming to a territory where he comes from, where Dr. Bawumia comes from, where Haruna, me, my person, where I come from. When John Mahama, his traces cannot be seen within the northern sector. This is what he should be speaking to. All the districts that he's going to, all those districts have had impact from this particular government. Go and talk about Agenda 111. Go and count the number of districts that we are constructing hospitals in. When we were in power under Kufuor, we constructed the Zabdugu Hospital, we constructed the Tatali Hospital, we did the Karaga Hospital, we did Bimbila Hospital, and then we also went ahead to do the Gushogu Hospital. When we finished that and Akufo-Addo came, he did the Tolong Hospital. Akufo-Addo is continuing with other hospitals in the other districts in the northern region. He should tell us which hospitals did he build in the north. The Kamale Teaching Hospital was done under President Mills, where we had the expansion project. He absolutely has nothing to point to when it comes to development in the north.
Are you saying that until there is a debate, even these questions that Ghanaians are asking, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia will not answer them?
He wants Dr. Bawumia to answer him. Dr. Bawumia will respond to several other questions because this is a man who wants to approbate a reprobate. Remember, he told Akufo-Addo that he cannot ask him questions and he cannot even debate him because he has never been president before. You remember that? When Dr. Bawumia was talking to him, he said that Dr. Bawumia is not his match, so he would not waste his time to respond to him. Is he wasting his time to ask those questions? He should come for the debate. We respect the people of Ghana, and that is why Dr. Bawumia has done town hall meetings. Dr. Bawumia has met industry. Dr. Bawumia has met civil society. He went ahead to meet the clergy. He went ahead to meet the youth. He did Youth Connect. He responded to myriad of this particular question. And Dr. Bawumia truly wants to talk to the Ghanaian people. If John Mahama wants to hear Dr. Bawumia, he should come for the debate.
I see. So if it's the same principle that you are asking and applying right now, then why did Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ask the late Vice President 170 questions? Why didn't he do so at a debate?
He never insulted the late Vice President. They were debating because they were all economists. He's an economist, and then the late Vice President was also an economist. He asked him economic questions.
But these questions are also what? What are these questions?
We are not going to belabor the point. Dr. Bawumia is fully prepared to respond to Mahama. Mahama should come for the debate.
And I'm saying that, so you are saying that until the debate happens, these questions, you will not answer them, essentially. That's what you are saying.
John cannot go and stand anywhere and ask questions when he himself is saying that he would not waste his time to respond to Dr. Bawumia. So if Ghanaians want to listen to the two of them and get to know what they want to do for the people of Ghana, their vision for this country, John should come and meet Dr. Bawumia, Amano. They should have a debate. And that is where Ghanaians will get to know who has a better solution for the people of Ghana.
Well, don't you think that the verdict is out there already?
Maybe you have the verdict with you because we know your positions. But we are telling you that the position, the verdict of the people of Ghana will be decided on 7th of December. There is no verdict out there. Nobody has pronounced any verdict. Nobody has pronounced any verdict. The verdict of the people will be pronounced on the 7th of December. So I will be surprised when you are telling me that the verdict is out there. How did you get that?
So if you speak to, if you said you've spoken to business, Alhaji, if you say you've spoken to business, if you say you've spoken to businessmen and women, what is their verdict about the exchange rate, the depreciation of the cedi against the dollar?
When you speak to the businessmen and women, they will ask you several respect to your vision. Dr. Bawumia presented his vision to the people of Ghana.
No, Alhaji, I'm asking specifically, you're asking me what I mean by the verdict is out there. I'm saying to you, what is the verdict of the business people that you spoke to about the exchange rate?
The business people have not voted, so there is no verdict. The business people listen to Dr. Bawumia on his vision, and then they ask questions as to how he's going to deal with other issues that they think that will affect their businesses positively. So there is no verdict. The business people have not issued any verdict. There has not been any research that is conducted by a business people that this is the verdict of the business people. So there has not been any verdict. That is what I have.
But Hannah, then you're putting a number of things in within this question that I'm asking. I asked you the fact that you're not going to respond to the 5 questions. You says you want John Mahama to come for a debate. Then I said the verdict of these 5 questions is out there already. And you're saying that as far as you know, you are not. When you spoke to the businessmen, they were okay that the cedi is 17 cedis to the dollar.
Did they tell you that the business people were asking as to how this particular cedi depreciation was done, and Dr. Bawku explained, and they told you that they were not satisfied? Did you have such a verdict?
I see. So the business people were satisfied with Bawku's explanation about the cedi being 17 cedis.
The business people asked their questions with respect to what they wanted to hear and what they wanted to know his version. He explained to them, and the business people, if they wanted to have a verdict, they would have had a press release or a press conference, and the media will cover that, and you stand that verdict. Maybe the verdict that you are referring to is your own verdict.
Oh, at least I have spoken to business people here on this program. They tell us about how the cedi is also the depreciation of the cedi is eroding their capital. I'm not in fact, it comes as a surprise to me that you are saying they did not say that to you. As a businessman as well yourself, the depreciation of the cedi hasn't had an impact on you?
It depends upon the kind of business that you do. If I don't do a business that export and import, I would not see the need. I will not see the much impact of the dollar to cedi. I am a farmer. I don't export any of the things that I farm. I do everything domestically. I have my products that people come to buy from me. I take cedi from them. I don't take dollar from them. I buy everything in cedi. And I go to the farm and I pay the people in cedis. And I appreciate the fact that from last year to this year, what has been able to be done within the spectrum where I go to do my farming business, it is okay for me. Yes, once we see there's a depreciation level which is very minimal, I see that there is no much impact that is sitting on me because I don't do foreign transactions. So it depends upon the businessman that you'll be asking for. And whoever, even a foreign businessman, will understand the concept that there is always an amount of depreciation. And if you look at the relative nature of the depreciation, with respect to the incompetent John Mahama's era and the level of depreciation at this particular era, it will tell you that the MPP is a better manager of the economy. Go and check 2017 up to 2020, before the advent of COVID. What was the growth? What was the depreciation? Go and check. What was the expenditure levels that they were engaging in terms of consumption? What were they doing? How were they able to invest in capital expenditure? So all these things feed into what the economy ran. He's talking about 54%. What is the rate of the inflation now? What was the rate of inflation when Rollish was the president? From 48, 50 something thereabout. Today, he should be answering the question that why is it that it's for 54 and it's now 20 something and getting to teens? He should be answering those questions. Instead of him to tell the people of Ghana the truth and let them understand that, yes, there was an advent of COVID where he went outside the country in the international community and admitted that COVID has had negative impact on the economy. And today, because we have the sound economic management team, we have been able to work on the 54% he's talking about is not the same today. He should tell the people
well, Haruna, as you are saying that, as you're saying that you've interacted with businesses and they did not complain about the depreciation of the cedi, and you talk about your kind of business that you do, we're also going to be engaging businessmen and women right now and find out their verdict as well about the state of the economy and how things are playing out. But well,
on only cedi, I want me to focus my point on the explanation of a cedi. No, okay, that is not so. Industry is run on several other factors.
Okay. Haruna Mohammed is Deputy General Secretary of the MPP. Grace, you spoke to some businessmen and women about the state of the economy and the depreciation of the cedi. What did they tell you?
Well, Alfred, it looks for those who are into import and export, the cedi exchange rate relationship is not one they're happy about. When you go to the market for local markets, women and even consumers, inflation rates and the back and forth with food pricing and all is also what they are not excited about. So, well, It's out there. It's out there. I mean, for Haruna, he's playing his role as what he's supposed to do. So, but the verdict is out there. Ghanaians are saying it's wherever you go. And from businesses, they will also tell you when you ask them.
Indeed. And well, as we always say, your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome. I want to say a number of you have been sending us messages on this matter. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. And that's Campaign Trail on your Election Command Center. I want to say thank you as well for joining us here on Hot Edition. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Grace Hammoah Agyemang. Thank you for joining us. Good evening.